She's a psychic. Revolve around her family. They were once asked to leave in our gallery when they criticized the painting of the stormy sea for conjuring up evil entities. No one on the school board will return her calls, and it's the same story down at City Hall. Her ran outside the church, ended up in a brawl. She loves new age music and Jethro Tull. Did you pick the right card? Did you guess the right number? She feels a strong connection with the late Joe Strummer. Did you pick the right card? Did you guess the right number? She feels a strong connection with the late Joe Strummer. Right number. She feels a strong connection with the late Joe Strummer. Did you pick the right card? Did you guess the right number? She feels a strong connection with the late Joe Strummer.
I am so sorry. I just want to say to Mike's mom and to Josh's mom that I am so sorry. And I'm so sorry for the cast of the Blair Witch, the first one. I just found out they got seriously ripped off, so much so that Heather had to change her name. So Heather now grows pot under a different name. She grows medical marijuana, and I wish her the best. Wish them all the best of luck. Mike is currently working as a high school guidance counselor. That can't be fun. So, hey, Gherkins, hi. You just heard, I'm sorry, I'm getting there later. You just heard Psychic Mom, which is the new track, and I'm going to, as you know, we do these videos in 3 parts. So the first part is going to be inspiration. How do you come up with a song like Psychic Mom? The second part will be the music, what I call the music stuff. So the music stuff will begin, if you want to jump to that point, will begin right here. And the music stuff is where I explain, okay, this is what sounds and effects were used to make the song and how I did this and that. Some people find it interesting. Some people just like to watch the beginning where I explain everything. And then the last thing is usually a tutorial tips type of thing. And that will begin at this point. So if you need tutorials and tips, this is where you go, right here. Right near my, I smacked that. Right near my, right near my Bestial Mouse shirt. There we go. All right, let's, without further ado, because I know the last one went like 41 minutes. Let's get moving. All right, the new song, Psychic Mom. Inspiration came from a song on the last Dead Milkmen album called Astral Dad. So if you were one of the 10 to maybe 15 people who bought that album, good for you. I hear it's doing really well on Spotify, which is, of course, like doing really well on Stormfront, I guess. But the idea was, I pitched an idea to Joe. And I said, Joe, I got an idea for a song. If sometimes Joe will hit a little patch and he'll just look at me and go, what do you got? And so I said, got an idea for a song called Astral Dad, about a dad who claims he runs out on his family. He claims that he's astral projected, and the mother tells the kids he's astral projected, but he's just really selling crystals by the side of the road out by Sedona. And I thought that was a really good song. And then Joe took it and he made it into a kind of an upbeat where the guy's a hero out there in his mind helping the universe. So basically, I gave him the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he turned it into the Waltons. He turned it into a creepy version of the Waltons, but the Waltons nonetheless. So there's a part of me that kind of wanted to reclaim that. Originally, I was going to do a rebuttal song and just do the original one, but nah. Psychic Mom kind of came to me. I don't know if you folks have ever had a deal or have heard about Indigo Moms and Indigo Children. These are women who believe that their children are special because they come from space. And there was actually a line in the song about her son. He can't do simple math and he fell off a horse. And that came from the fact that somebody was once telling me, telling a friend of mine, I wish I'd been there for this though, who worked on like a horse farm where they take you pay a couple bucks and they take you around on a horse. Something Charles Manson used to do, by the way. And then that guy from Breaking Bad got to see Charles Manson on a horse when he was young. But I digress. Anyway, so what happens is he take people around on a horse, and this woman was telling him that her son was an indigo child, and that you don't really have to tell him much because he's so in tune with animals. And the kid basically got up on the horse and fell right off. You don't know how thoughts like that keep me warm at night. So so I did a demo for it, and the demo sounded very, very different. I might throw the demo at the end. I don't know. But doing it, recording it the way I recorded it and did everything, actually put some bite into it. Now, I had originally given this over to the Milkmen. I had an idea for what we called orphan songs, whereas everybody must have had a bunch of songs that never went anywhere, you never did anything with them. But what happens is I realized that I'm coming up on a deadline, and I'm getting panicky. I'm coming up on a deadline on the album, and I need at least 6 songs by October. I want to release it in October. And I had that week where I wasn't feeling well, and Milkmen have a bunch of shows, and my timeline is getting smaller and smaller. There we go. Smaller and smaller. And so what happens is I'm like getting panicky. So probably going to grab another song out of the orphan file. I don't think the Milkmen will miss them. I don't think they're going to be going, oh, well, we couldn't do Psychic Mom, And the thing, Astral Dad's completely different than how I would have done it. Mine would have been probably like a Ramones song with synths in it, but they had a lot of piano in that. I get nervous when I hear like piano and sand blocks. I'm like, I'm going to leave the room for a while. So, so that is the story of that. That's basically where Psychic Mom comes from. All right, so that was part 1, inspiration, and this will be part 2, which is music stuff. Okay, Gherkins, so on that album, on the song Psychic Mom, all the sounds, except for the percussion sounds, come from the DX11. Because I know some people were like, you said you were going to use the DX11. You were just so happened that when I was doing this, all the songs other than the percussion sounds come from the DX11. For example, that bass, that's our friend the Ormsby bass. The one we made last week, that's what the Ormsby bass sounds like. So if I've got at least 2 more songs to do, half the album will be using the Ormsby bass, and that I'm happy with it. So I'm good with that. And I know I said I'd put up the sheet for it. I will do that. I'll put up the patch sheet for it at some point. Been busy, people. I do this and I have a radio show, and I act. I do a lot of stuff, and occasionally shelves fall down in my basement. I have to fix that. The drums. The drums are a combination of the 7th Victim drums, which is the drums I put onto the Volca sample, and some Chinese percussion that was on FL Studio. It was on their FPC thing. And just the thing, because the original version that I did, the demo, used all the Chinese percussion. But I wanted something a little bit more bite, so I combined the 2 of them together. Just a little tip, though. If you want to hear some incredible South Korean percussion, I'm going to recommend there's a film called Exuma. In part of it, they do what is basically, I guess you'd call an exorcism. They exhume a body, and they have to do this little... And there's a guy just wailing away on his drum, and it sounds fantastic. So it's a great movie, but bonus for having really good music. So check out Exuma. And As with before, both the drums and the bass, the reverb on that is Edgar Allan Poe's Basement, which I will be using throughout, so that gives us some cohesion. What little cohesion this has. Let's talk about the drones on this, though, because you might find one of the first things you hear is that drone sound, which runs through it. Actually got some third-party sounds from a place called the LFO store. When I first began restoring the DX11, I was like, I wonder what's out there. And just by pure luck, I saw that the LFO store had TX81Z, what is the rack-mounted brother or sister of the DX11, and I wrote them and I said, hey, do these work on the DX11? And they're like, well, we have to find somebody that has a DX11. I'm like, well, I'm here in America and you're not, so you know, I should have said, if you want to send them to me, I'll test them for free, and let me have the sounds, but or I could have struck a deal with them, but really kind of cool. The sound set was called FM Depths, and I used sounds which were called NK Smooth and NK Morpho, just like those. And what I did was I ran those both, one each. I should have just put them on. Well, I couldn't do that because I did it. We all know what I used. Let me reach over here. We all know that I used this little monster over here, which shows up in every video. And the reason I couldn't really bust them out and do them, I guess I could have. Long story. I'll show you how to do that some other time. But what happens is the sounds I used on them were a space reverb and a phaser. And I think that worked out really well. Now, the thing I was saying here is all these effects are printed to the track. In other words, they come right out from the keyboard through the effects unit and right onto the track. So I'm not adding them separately. And so what you get is what you get. I kind of like that. In the old days, everything was printed to the track, and a lot of people did that because they didn't want somebody coming along later and saying, you know what, I don't like this effect. No, I commit to it. So, and I suggest you commit to it. Commit to something today. That piano sound that you're hearing, that is the DX11 electric piano sound. That it's actually available on, the DX7 piano sound. Very famous. It's available on the DX11. I have it on the DX11, and I thought, well, let's go with an electric piano. That'd be nice. And let's use the most famous electric piano in the world. How famous is it? That's the piano sound that Phil Collins is using on One More Night. Yeah, except that I perverted it. And the way I perverted it was for the chorus, I'm using what's called a submarine reverb, and I think that worked out pretty nice. And then for the verses, I've got that electric piano, and I'm actually, I've got two of them going. One of them is going with a horror reverb and a flanger, and the other, it's double with one going with a riser reverb and a flanger. And I think that just the two different sounds, kind of disturbing. I think what Phil Collins was really going for. I think I achieved Phil Collins' dream right there. Phil, ha ha ha. Anyway, and in the break, that's actually an upright piano sound from the DX11, and that is an upright, and there's just some fuzz and hall reverb on that. So I'm into putting the fuzz from this little unit. They all came from this unit, but the fuzz sound on this unit I've really learned to love that. So that's what I'm using on that to make all the different sounds. I do want to talk a little bit about the vocals for a second. The female vocal that you'll hear, that thing, that is from FL Cloud, and we talked about FL Cloud before, about how I still have like 99,000 downloads on that for like $7 or something. It turned out to be a real worthwhile investment. So that is actually called What About. That's the name of the company. What About, and it's What About Oriental EDM and Trap. That might be problematic. I don't know. Not as problematic as Tony Randall in the Circus of Dr. Lowe, but still something about that. It doesn't sit quite right, the name. But yeah, it's just great that you can get those and use those in your projects, and you own that. So, and we talked about it before. Go back and find that video. Damn it. Go do some homework. Now, thing here about my vocals on the chorus in that, where she has a strange connection with the late Joe Strummer, strong connection with the late Joe Strummer. That part, I do a thing when I get to choruses I call vocal thickening. Here's what I do, and you folks can do this at home. I do at least 3 takes. And if I do more than 3 takes, I'm just going to take my favorite 3 takes. The best of those 3 takes gets ran right down the middle. Boom! Right in the middle there. The other 2 takes, they get lowered a little bit in volume. There we go. I'm learning to work my hands. They get lowered a little bit in volume, and then they get panned to the left and right. So what happens is that when you hear them, it sounds like a chorus. It thickens it up nicely. Give it a try. Seriously, give it a try. I think I got, we were in the studio not that long ago doing something for a benefit album. I think I talked the folks there into using that trick on the chorus. I'm not sure. I knew they wanted to have Joe sing on it and play piano and sound blocks. All right, so that is your little tutorial, not tutorial, that is your little lesson on how the song was put together. And I hope you do use those tricks of, basically the trick of vocal thickening. I think that might be helpful for you. Forgot to mention that in the second part of the song, I had used a tape delay, which this has. This is a really nice tape delay before I was using them right from the FL Studios delays, but I used the tape delay on this for the bass in the second part, so that moves it along. But remember, no amount of studio trickery will save your song if it's a piece of shit. Really, I have a friend who has, we talk about people with no filter. My buddy has no filter whatsoever, and we were listening to something. Somebody was playing something he did in his home studio, and he's like, I moved the microphone back about 6 inches from the snare drum, and it makes a big difference. And my buddy goes, it makes a big difference, but the song still sucks, doesn't it? The snare sounds better, but the song sucks. So, just remember, studio trickery will probably not save your life. All right, we're going to move on to part 3 now, and that's this week's sort of tips, tutorials. I don't know what we call it, but we're going to do that right away. So, the question that I probably get asked the most, this is the most frequent question that turns up in my inbox or slipped through my door, is can my home studio give me the advantage in a knife fight? Get asked it a lot. And the answer might surprise you. I just want to start off by saying, folks, your home studio is probably just fine. Literally, it is probably what you have for what you're doing is probably just great. So please stop going into debt buying equipment for your home studio. It is not a good idea. You can actually put a home studio together very, very cheaply. If you have a computer, which if you're watching this, you either have a computer or you have a phone. Ta-da! A phone. Oh, you can see a message there to me. It's from... I wonder how he's doing these days. If you have a computer or a phone, there's usually so you can get studio. First of all, there's DAWs for phones, and there are, of course, DAWs for computers. These are free. These are digital audio workstations you can get for free. And I'm going to tell you right now, people fight about digital audio workstations, DAWs. They're all pretty much the same. You can get something for free that you're probably going to be happy with. So you can start with that. And again, there's software that goes on your phone. You can make songs on your phone. That might do you right there. There are also plugins, free plugins. There are tons of free plugins that you can get for these things. You don't have to pay money. Somebody working on something somewhere, maybe somebody's going for some sort of student degree or something, and they put something out and it works. I've used tons of free plugins that I really, really liked. There used to be a magazine back in the day, and I mentioned it once before, called Computer Music, and they used to have lots and lots of free plugins. I'm not going to go into that again. Now, if you're using your computer and you're making keyboardy music, you're probably going to need a controller. Usually, what most people have, one of these, and this is an Arturia Keystep, and runs about $130. Dean has one that's in black, because for a limited amount of time, they released these in black. I think Nick Bat from Sonic Talk has one in black. My wife is always horrified when I have like white equipment in the studio. It's like, well, don't they make them in black so it fits everything else? I'm like, no, they don't. So, but you're probably going to need one of these. So right now you're down about $130. If you have FL Studio, which is what I use, I recommend that you get the Novation FL Keys, which will run you anywhere from like $100 to about $200, depending on if you get the 25, the 37, or the 49 key versions. So just think about what you need and how much space you have. Again, so I guess we're talking, so far I think you're in about $200 max. And that's, again, if you went with the free software. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, I don't want to do everything in the box. I don't want to make EBM or anything like that. I want to play my guitar, play my piano. I want to sing. In that case, you're going to need an interface. You're going to need something that allows your instrument, whether it be that your voice or an acoustic instrument, to talk to your computer. I say record it into the computer. Although, I will point out that I'm using a Zoom microphone. Can't really see where this is around here. A Zoom mic, which ran me about $100, probably the best $100 I ever spent. You could actually just record on that and dump it into the computer. That would probably work for you as well. So in that case, you're only down $100. So where was I? Oh yeah, I was talking about the interface. The interface, if you want to record something into your computer, okay, this is what I use, and I use a Scarlett 2i2. I think this is the third, might be the fourth generation. This will set you back. Now, there are two inputs on this, which means you could record yourself at the same time singing and playing a guitar. And don't forget the 12-12 rule. Put that mic 12 inches away from the 12th fret. Please do that. You can add another mic anywhere you want, but I find things sound like crap unless I do that. I had my friend Janet in here from Seventh Victim once, and I was recording her, and guitar sounded fantastic. I'm like, yeah, it's a 12-12 rule. So I think she already knew it, but was pretending she didn't know it to make me feel better. But what will one of these cost you? These usually go from about $100 to $200. It's kind of a weird range. Let's just say you're going to spend about $130, $150 for one of these right here with the two inputs. The more inputs, the more money you're going to spend. I think there's an 8-input one that will run you about $500. So it all depends on how much stuff you want to record live at one time. So right now, if you don't go using the mic thing and all that, if you're starting with this, let's start with this. You're down about $200. Now, mics. Let's talk about this. The best mic, and this is one I recommend when people get something. This is a workhorse of a mic. This is the SM58. Da da da. And you cannot go wrong with this thing. Bob Dylan, many years ago, somebody's telling me a story. This is what I use in the studio all the time for everything. Bob Dylan was setting up all these expensive mics. He's like, you have one of those. I think they're called an SM58. It's just get one. If you're, I know a store. Again, I'm going to say that the SM58 will probably run you like $60 to $110. I know there's a music store here in Philly that just has a barrel full of them with like $60 each, little price tag stuck on them. So you're going to need. I would recommend you get one of those. It'll go right into your interface. You can record. It's going to take you a while to learn about the drivers and how to record stuff. There's always a learning curve, but it's worth it in the end. Now I want to show you something else here. This right here. This is the SM57. I've had this SM57 since I was maybe 15, 16 years old. I'm 61 now. This thing has lasted me a lifetime. And again, we talk about, giving you the upper hand in a knife fight. Boom! Bang! Just knock the knife out of their hand with this. Pop them on the head. Your home studio definitely, see I said you'd be surprised, can give you the advantage in a knife fight. And especially if you have one of these. Blink. It is the thing that I have owned the longest in my life, except for one thing. And since you guys have been good and you've been listening to this so far, I'm going to show you the thing that I've owned the longest in my life, and that is this Vampirella poster. I've had this Vampirella poster since I was 9 years old. So, and it's really colored the sort of idea of the women that I like. I'm pretty much married to Vampirella. So I know you're probably asking what kind of parent would let a 9-year-old have that poster in his room. Maybe they were just happy I like girls. I don't know. But you got to see two things I've owned the longest in my life. There. That was worth tuning in for. All right, so the final thing I was going to recommend, get an XLR cable. This will be the interface between your microphone, if you're using a 58, 57, whatever. You just want one of these, and then this will go right in to whatever I.O. device usually that you're using. Some I.O. devices don't take an XLR. They'll just take a straight quarter-inch in. But, you know, these are just good to have. If you can get a hold of these, I think these, I don't like to say the brand that I use, but they've held up really well. So I've got something coming up. I gotta rig it up for my friend Donna. So I got some more of these on the way. Got to rig up some mics for Donna because she's doing a reading. All right, so just want to say at the end of this, now we've reached the end, and we're talking about home studios, and we've learned. Look, you know, there's so many things you can do. You can throw this at somebody with a knife. You can throw this at somebody with a knife. Just thinking about this. Just this right here. Just bang. Bang, knock the knife out of their hand. Bang. I'm just saying, if anybody asks you why you have a home studio, you say, I can defend, I get the upper hand, get the advantage in a knife fight. Nobody's going to bring a knife into that studio. But I just want to say, I was in my home studios, and a friend of mine told me years ago, not the same friend that had the Indigo kid on the horse, although I wish. But I do have a friend that a lot of weird crap happens to. He was telling me a story about when he was in junior high or something, that shop class. This is back when only boys took shop class. So I think this is probably late 70s, early 80s or something. Maybe earlier than that. He might actually be older than me. And the shop teacher said, you know, we have student teacher day. A lot of the dads come in here. A lot of dads look around this shop, and boy, I'd like to have something like that. Boys, let me tell you, your dads would mess this place up. This place would be a dump within a couple of weeks. And everybody's like, he said it was horrifying. And you know, I don't think if my dad had it. My dad was pretty neat and organized, which brings me to, by the way, I want to talk about, you can see it back there. I don't know what thumb I'm using. There we go, back there. Doing things backwards. That NASA hat is the most valuable thing I own. That was my dad's NASA hat. My dad did NASA a solid, and they gave him a hat and told him drop by anytime. But I think that the most important thing for your home studio is to keep it neat and make it feel like home. You know, and I don't think you're going to be, people say I want to build a home studio, I want to charge people to come in. You know, while you're building your home studio to charge people to come in, your friends are also building their home studio to charge people to come in. And then everybody has one. Nobody's charging anybody. Just build it as a place, like a little sanctuary for yourself, and keep it neat. And you know, maybe people will drop by and you will get to do stuff, which I think is interesting. So I wish you the best of luck with your home studio. I hope something I said today was helpful. Sometimes I just jabber on forever. All right, everybody. So long.